Prepare to see me bawling my eyes out every single day next year. They are stepping off the bus for their last time as campers. It broke my heart. Like, it is the maddest journey of my entire life. Like, it actually makes me kind of emotional. Hello, my loves. I am so excited to be filming this video. I wanted this to be like a really chill, grab a drink, grab a cuppa, grab some snacks kind of video while I just talk about my experience working at summer camp. I am also obsessed with these drinks. If anyone's in Australia, this lemon and mango solo is unreal. This tops a Fanta lemon, guys. For anyone from the UK, that I don't think you can get this anywhere other than Australia. I have no idea. This is phenomenal. This is so good. So I thought I would just kind of chat about my time at summer camp. I haven't done one of these videos, I think, since the very first one that I did, that kind of sparked my entire camp social media journey, which is honestly a bit wild to say out loud and think, but I literally posted that video. How long ago was it now? I feel like I need to find this out because it was a while ago. Okay, my summer camp experience post was 4 years ago now, which was literally something that I remember randomly deciding I was going to talk about. There was so little like advice and I feel like research just to be able to do on social media at the time, and I remember that video got such an incredible response of people just asking questions and being like, oh my God, like I'm going to camp for the first time next year. Like, how was this? How did this work? And this was in the time, like it was COVID. Like I think it was what was that? Must be 2021 now. And it was after I couldn't go to camp that year. I remember being so sad and just wanting to almost like relive the camp bubble and talk about camp. So I'm gonna recreate that video and just go over my entire summer at camp, my story essentially, and where I started and like where I am now. Because guys, when I tell you, it is the maddest journey of my entire life. Like from where I started at camp all those years ago to where I am now. Insane. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Grab yourself some snacks, grab yourself a drink. It's going to be a long one. I'm going to literally go into depth about each summer, everything I did that year. I'll throw in some photos and videos and stuff from those summers at camp. And yeah, I'm actually really excited to just kind of deep dive about my entire camp counselor journey. Okay, so we're going back in time now. Literally 9 summers. Is it 9 summers? 8 summers ago, but it'll be 9 summers from next year when I'm next back at camp, which, oh my God, that actually sounds kind of terrifying. So I started at camp in 2018. I was 19 years old. I knew I always wanted to go and do something like camp. My mom had always said like she wished she'd done it when she was my age and really encouraged me to try doing something like that. And like I said, at the time then, there wasn't many people that had done it, or not that I knew that had done it, or also that you could research about. Like, it's mad to think TikTok wasn't even a thing back then. Like, that makes me feel so ancient, even just saying. But yeah, I literally decided that I was gonna go to camp. I had no idea how many camps were out there, the types of camps. Again, like we're in a different world now with research online and just like people posting about their experiences, the different types of camps there are, the different roles there are out there. That wasn't a thing back then. Like I went into it so blind. I had no clue what I was doing or what I was getting myself in for. And I actually found out about BUNAC, like my agency, through a friend of a friend. Sorry, I got worried then that I was filming in slow-mo, but we're all good. I literally found out through a friend of a friend about BUNAC. She had done camp maybe like 5 years before then. She's like, I use this agency, like they were amazing, like have a little research, like have a look. And I ended up signing up with them and loved them as an agency. I felt for me, they were such an incredible supportive agency. My fees were less than some of the other agencies that I just researched and like seen about, and I earned a lot more. Like when I was doing my deep dive research, I found that BUNAC was like a higher paying agency with some lower fees than some other places. And it just seemed like the right one for me. So I signed up with them, did the whole process and went to camp for the first time. I got hired at Tyler Hill as a gymnastics counsellor my first summer at camp. It actually makes me kind of emotional thinking about how crazy the butterfly effect is and how if like little things in my life had been different, I maybe wouldn't have even gone to camp at all, or I wouldn't have found Tyler Hill, or I hadn't have gone and done something like that led me to where I am now. And I actually get asked this a lot, is like how I found Tyler Hill, and I found them through a family friend who went the year before. So in 2017, a family friend of mine went to Tyler Hill and worked as like a rock climbing specialist on Outdoor Adventure, and we went round to visit, and I knew I was going to sign, I think I might have already been signed up to camp at this point, knew I really wanted to do it, but again had no idea how the camp hiring process really worked. It was very early on in my entire camp journey, and she was like, oh my God, like this was my camp. Like she showed me so many photos, and I'll never forget one photo that she showed me of her at camp on one of the big dress up days. And I was like, oh my God, like this looks insane. And she spoke so highly of like all the head staff, like the leadership team, just like the vibe that camp was. And I was like, that is what I want from a camp. Like I knew I wanted to go somewhere that was kind of like a traditional co-ed sleepaway camp, honestly, because of the movies. Like I feel like, again, then I didn't know of any other camps. I didn't even know how many camps there were in the US. And I fell in love with Tyler Hill. Like I looked on the website. I remember laying in bed with my mom one night, literally just scrolling on the website. We were both like, oh my God, like this place looks incredible. They had some values that really just aligned with mine. They were very big on like family and community, which again was something that I felt like for me as an international that was gonna uproot my entire life and go to America for the summer. Like I wanted to be somewhere where I felt part of this family as well, and I really got that vibe even just from like researching and obviously hearing my family friend talk about it as well. And I applied direct with Tyler Hill. I didn't even look at another camp. I didn't even research another camp. I only knew Tyler Hill, which is kind of crazy when you think about it now, and how many like camps are out there and how much you're encouraged to just kind of like look around, shop around almost, and see what camp is right for you. That just wasn't kind of how it worked out for me. And I remember applying direct on the website. I had an interview with Wendy, my camp director. We talked for ages. I obviously talked about like my gymnastics experience, and she hired me on the spot, which I remember just being like, oh my God, like this is actually happening. Like camp is happening for me next year. So this was obviously 2017 when I started my process, and I think I had my interview in like the February time, and I was then hired and like ready to go. So things did happen a little bit later back then. Camps didn't tend to start hiring until like the new year. Now obviously camps start hiring so much earlier now, but yeah, I remember getting my camp placement, being so excited, but I had no idea what to expect. Like when I say there was literally nothing out there, I couldn't really research or see like anyone else's experiences really, or figure out what camp was going to be like. And again, back then, because social media wasn't where it's at now, I think we maybe had a Facebook group, but I, for whatever reason, didn't reach out to anyone in this group, didn't try and like connect with anyone. I just kind of thought like it wasn't really the norm. I maybe messaged one person or like had someone that I knew of, but literally went into this completely blind. And at the time I was like planning on like booking all my flights and everything. My mom flew out to New York with me my first summer at camp, and we spent a few days together, and then we had to make our own way to camp, which is different now. Like we pick up from the airport, we transport staff like to camp from the airport, and back then it just wasn't a thing. So I literally had to go to Port Authority, which if you've been to New York, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. It's like a ginormous bus terminal that goes like all over the country. Like you can get on a bus and go anywhere and everywhere from Port Authority, and I had to get on the bus and go to a teeny tiny little town called Honesdale in the middle of nowhere. Sat on this bus, I cried my eyes out, guys, literally sobbed. I had a colouring book with me, and again, I can literally remember this like it was yesterday. I had my headphones on, my sunglasses on, and I was colouring, sobbing on the bus. Like the bus was full. I was sat next to some random person who was probably like, oh my God, is this girl okay? I literally watched my mom standing like at the door of the terminal, waving me off, and I was like, what have I done? Like, what am I doing? This is the scariest thing, probably to this day still is the scariest thing I ever did. And it was so nerve-wracking, and we literally get maybe like 20 minutes from Honesdale, and someone towards the front of the bus like turned around and was like, anyone here for Tyler Hill? And I was like, me? There was about 12 of us on this bus that were all going to Tyler Hill. And I'd not even like spoke to a single person. I'd not even like realized that there would be more than just me on this bus going to camp. So we literally get to Honesdale, all of us get off the bus, and there's like a minivan waiting for us, and they take us to camp from there. And it's maybe like 20-25 minutes back to Tyler Hill from Honesdale. And literally remember getting to camp and was greeted with the nicest like welcoming ever, and I think it was something that I really needed, especially because I felt so emotional, so overwhelmed. I was like, oh my god, this is the biggest mistake I've ever made, like what am I doing? And I remember Wendy came straight over to me, she gave me a hug, like she remembered who I was, she was like chatting, and just to feel again like I was part of something like so big and so special within those first few moments of stepping off the bus, I knew that I really appreciated back then and really needed. And yeah, that's kind of how my like camp like experience initially started. And then when you get to camp, well at my camp anyway, you're normally given like a little name tag and an orientation bunk, and you go into your orientation bunk, you're obviously there with a few different people and you get chatting. And then no, I think it was the next day that we literally started with orientation activities that we're literally like go go go. And yeah, I just remember that first summer being like so much more than I could have ever imagined. I, like I say, worked down at gymnastics. I was a gymnastics counsellor, myself and one other girl, and I worked with the freshman girls. So at my camp, even as a specialist, you're still a general counsellor. So you have a group of kids that you still obviously live in the bunk with, that you look after. And the specialist, you're technically just like the work-away parent. Like come like 10 a.m. I would go down to gymnastics and I'd be there for the activity periods. Like I would just be there for when other kids came down. One thing I loved about gymnastics was that because it was such a flexible program and we didn't always have people come down, I could use that time and go back with wherever my kids were. So like take them water skiing or go rock climbing or go to basketball, whatever it was they had on the schedule, and like join in with them and still be a general counsellor throughout my day. I loved it. Like actually fell in love with just the camp experience. I've always loved working with kids. I came from a background where I'd done so much work with kids even before going to camp, and it kind of just like snowballed from there, and it really made me realize how much I loved being in those kind of environments. And yeah, I had my little babies for the first time. They were, like I say, freshman girls, so they were youngest girls on camp. So it was really nice for me to start camp for the first time, the same time that they did. We were all in it, like going into it, having no idea what to really expect. And I just bonded with them. Like I just can't even explain. It was the most special summer. And to fast forward and see where I'm at now with those same group of girls, I actually could bawl my eyes out. It's an emotional one, and it honestly is crazy to again like feel how full circle it is, but I'll get to that in a minute because I feel like I'm jumping ahead of myself. But yeah, I literally had the most incredible first summer. I worked with some amazing people. It was something that I never really expected to like love the way that I did. I just think because I didn't have any idea what I was getting myself in for, I had no idea what to expect. So I left camp not really knowing that I was going to go back for a second summer. I think when I applied, I kind of just always thought it was one summer thing, I'll see where it takes me, like I'll get back into the real world and then go from there. And I got home and I remember being like, oh my God, like this can't just be it. Like this is not just the end of my camp experience. There is no way that I'm not going back. So I think I signed up pretty early on and said I was going to go back for a second summer. I was going to stay at gymnastics and hopefully move up with my girls. I didn't know the guarantee that I'd be with my same group until I got back to camp the next year, but was so happy when I had them again. Like I say, worked down at gymnastics for a second summer, and it was just so special. Again, I didn't really know. I think going into a returner summer is quite scary as well, because you have such high expectations from your first summer that you almost worry if it's not going to be the same. But for me, I've always loved being a returner. I've loved going back to camp and just kind of knowing what was going on, but also being able to help people that were going into it for the first time and being that person that was like, oh, like the dining hall's this way, like let me show you, or if you have any questions, like come and ask me. And I loved being a returner and seeing my girls for a second time and just having them kind of run off the bus into my arms. Guys, it was honestly insane. And then obviously COVID rolled around. So 2019 was when I did my second summer at camp, and I was signed up ready to go back for a third summer. So excited. And then I think it was like April time when, I'll never forget this, I can literally picture exactly where I was. Tyler Hill posted like a video on their Instagram basically just saying that they weren't opening for the summer. I bawled my eyes out. This was so sad. Wendy did like a voiceover just explaining the situation and that like camp wouldn't be opening. It broke my heart, like actually crushed my entire soul. And not being able to go back to camp that summer was like the worst thing ever. I didn't even expect to feel like as terrible as I did when I couldn't go back to camp. And then 2021 rolls around, I'm like desperate to get back to camp, and we then got told that we couldn't get visas, so like no international staff were able to go to camp. And yeah, I ended up moving to Bali for the summer because I was like, I can't do another summer in the UK. Like I wanted to do something different. I had the travel bug again so bad. And 2022 rolled around, and a very small few of us made it back to camp that year from my like 2019 summer. Obviously so many summers had passed. That had been 3 summers that like, not we'd missed 2, but like 3 since that last summer. And I remember being like, this is going to be such a strange experience almost, because there was obviously going to be returners that had been in 2021 going back in 2022 that I didn't know that were going to be like new staff to me. I had no idea if my girls were going to remember who I was because I'd not seen them in so long. I was scared, probably like obviously so excited, but probably just as scared as I was like going for the first time again, because it felt like I was starting over, and I was like, oh, like this is wild, like this is intimidating. And I went back to camp as a gymnastics director this time, still hoping to be with my same group of girls who were juniors at this time. So I literally went from their like 2nd summer at camp to their 5th summer at camp? Yeah, 5th summer. We missed our cadet summer, and sophomore summer I wasn't there. So that was such a big jump that I remember being like, like they're defo just not gonna know who I am. And opening day rolled around, they literally ran off the bus, launched themselves at me, and we literally all fell into like a pile on the ground, and it was this massive group hug. And I remember just feeling so like, right, this is where I was meant to be. Like this was the right decision, 100% coming back to camp, because it was scary, like missing those 2 summers and then thinking, do I go back? Like, has like life moved on too much? Like, is it time for me to close this chapter? But like making sure, like I knew that I wasn't done with camp. So going back and feeling those emotions, I was like, oh, this was the best thing ever. And 2022 was a summer that I will never forget. I think because no one had traveled for so long because of COVID, going back that year was genuinely like something else. Like the energy that year was incredible with every staff member. It was just such good vibes, and I remember just having so much fun. And then went back to camp the following year, changed up my roles completely. I decided that I wanted to step away from gymnastics, do something more with the girls. Like I knew I loved being with them. I loved spending all day with them. I just wanted to do that more. So I ended up jumping from a gymnastics position to a division leader position, which is a huge jump. And I was in charge of my entire division of girls. So I think that summer we must have had around like 27, 28 girls, and I was in charge of that division alongside a group leader and the counsellors that I obviously had in that division. And it was probably my most challenging summer. I think 2023 taught me a lot about just like the kind of person I wanted to be for my girls, for the counsellors that I worked with, and it taught me a lot. It was definitely hard, like genuinely my hardest summer. And I think going back in 2024 was like a massive thing for me to do, because I wasn't sure how I was going to then be able to adapt to the role again. But like I said, like I've loved being a returner. I've almost loved going back into that same role with like so much that I learned the year before. And I think that's one thing that is so great about camp, is it teaches you more than you'll ever imagine. And you really just have to like grow from it. Like no one is perfect, especially at camp. Like camp is like the place that teaches you about who you really are and who you really can be. And I think you've got to be very open to know that like you're going to do things wrong, you're going to make mistakes, and it's actually more than okay. You learn from it, and if you can move on from that and take it all on board and put your everything into something the next day or the next week or the next year, like you have done a really great job at knowing that we all have to learn and grow, especially at camp. So yeah, 2024 was a huge turnaround. I loved my 2024 summer. Something about just like the energy with the girls, like the counsellors we had, it was just so much fun. And again, just going into the same role that I'd done the year before, just knowing what I would maybe have done differently the previous year and just kind of been aware of different things, just made the summer feel so smooth. And then we're up to like current day virtually. 2025 was obviously this last summer that just went by. I stepped into a new role again, but that kind of ended up being flipped on its head a little bit. I stepped into a girls head counsellor role, which was so exciting, so special. Then last minute we had one of our division leaders that was meant to be with a group of girls wasn't able to come back. So I ended up stepping into what was like a hybrid role of the two. So I stayed in my division leader role with the oldest 2 groups on camp, the 2 oldest girls, the teens and CITs. The teens were my original girls from that first summer, and the CITs were the girls the year older who I'd never actually worked with before. And was still in this head counsellor position, but was kind of trying to navigate how to even go about doing both, which was honestly really challenging. Stepping into a role, obviously the division leader role, having 2 divisions of kids when I'd only ever worked with one, having to learn a new group of kids and their dynamics and their personalities, whilst also trying to manage the existing relationships that I had with my original group of girls, but making sure I was like balancing my time well and really wanting to get to know these new groups of girls, but not wanting my other group of girls to feel like I wasn't still making the time for them, whilst also balancing another role that was completely separate to my role with the girls. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun. I feel like camp was like chaos this year in the best way possible. Like camp always is organized chaos, but it just felt, because I had these different responsibilities more than I had before, that I was really just learning how to kind of navigate it and what I really wanted from that summer in those roles. And I'm going into that same role again next year, which again, I'm really excited to go into, having a year of it under my belt already, knowing how much I would do differently, what I would change, how I would grow, like how I would kind of want things to pan out. I feel like you always have to have those moments at camp where you're like, this was next year, like I would do it like this would be different, I would change these things. And that's just the beauty and the nature of life in general, but definitely at camp. So this last summer was amazing. Again, taught me a lot about the kind of like leader I want to be at camp and the role model I want to be for the girls that I work with. I absolutely adored being with these, like the oldest groups of girls on camp. I didn't realize how different it was going to be, but they have a lot more responsibility almost in like how their summer can be. They do like work periods where they work with like the younger kids. They get to really experience what a counsellor is going to be like for them to be a counsellor in years to come. So yeah, it was super special. There's a lot more with the older girls that I didn't realise was like fun activities and different like traditions that they had. So learning all of that was an incredible experience, and getting to have that summer alongside them. And like I say, having a whole different group of girls that I got to work alongside and get to know, and I absolutely adored them genuinely. And having both those groups of girls and trying to bring them together was just so special, but it's honestly made me even more excited for next year to just do it again. And even like now, I've been planning so much for next year in terms of like what activities I want to do, how I want to change the program, the schedule, like what things are going to look like that I learned from last year. I think would just work a bit better if it was a little bit different. So doing all of that and then going into next year knowing all of these things, I'm just so excited. So yeah, that is kind of my camp experience in a nutshell. Something that I've also added to the list as I've gone along is that I now also hire an interview for Tyler Hill, which is so exciting. And I love that that is a part of my like off season now. I love that I can stay in this camp bubble, this camp mindset, literally like 12 months a year. It doesn't stop, which I love. And I think that's one thing I struggled with when I was first going to camp, is you had 2 months of this amazing, incredible like life at camp, and then you'd go back to normality, and like normality hit me like a ton of bricks, as I know it does most of us when we get home. So now I've been able to have that as like my everyday life, talking to people, going to camp for the first time and interviewing and hiring and just talking to people about the camp experience. I feel like the luckiest girl in the world, honestly, that this is still my life and that I'm still going back to camp. Because honestly, if you'd have told me 8 years ago that I would still be going to camp at 27 and doing it like all year round, full time, I'd be like, no, there's no way. So I love that this is now life and this is what I get to do. And I'm very, very grateful that this is where I'm at, and that I've been able to share this journey with all of you as well. And that one video that I did those years ago about my summer camp experience snowballed, like genuinely snowballed into what it is now. And that I remember saying to myself when I first started making those videos, I literally said to my mum and dad, like, if I can make one person feel better about the camp experience and know what they're getting themselves in for, or been able to answer some of their questions that they've got, things that you just don't naturally see online, or definitely didn't back then, I was like, I'll be the happiest person in the world. And to think now there are so many people that I have been able to just like be in touch with over their camp journey and answer questions, or people have reached out and said, I've got this like going on, like how do I navigate this, or I've got this question, I'm not sure what camp is right for me. And to be a part of that as well for so many people, again, I just feel like the luckiest girl in the world. And this wouldn't be possible without all of you guys. And I love that you've been there every step of the way, literally for those last few years at camp and along for the ride, because it has been a crazy one. It has been so special. And like I say, the fact that I'm still going back to camp and loving it as much as I am now is something that I never expected, and something that I will be forever grateful for. The one thing that I'm definitely not prepared for next year is that it's my girls' last summer at camp. Guys, it is going to be quite possibly the most emotional summer of my entire life. I think this last summer was really emotional because we had those two oldest age groups together. Like I say, my original girls were the teens, and the CITs are like, they're called counsellors in training. Like they are preparing for their next year as counsellors, but that's their last summer as like campers. And to have the two groups together, and for the teen girls to constantly be like, oh, this is us next year, or we're going to be doing that. Like that felt emotional already, thinking about how that was their like last year of like normal camp in a way, because next year it's going to all feel very final for them. And honestly, like it breaks my heart to think about it, but also I feel so like lucky again that I've been able to experience every single chapter of their camp lives with them. Like that is something that I never thought I would ever be able to do. And I remember, she's probably gonna sound like there's no way you remember this, like you're definitely making that up, but genuinely I'm not. My first summer at camp, me and my girls were sat down and they were like mapping out like what they would be every year. So like cadets of 2020 and like teens of 25 and SITs of 26, and like we mapped all this out, and they were like, oh my God, like CITs of 26 like has such a good ring to it, like we're so excited. And that feels like yesterday, like genuinely feels like it wasn't that long ago at all, to now think that the next time we go to camp, they are stepping off the bus for their last time as campers. I'm actually unwell. Like I can't cope with the fact that they are going to be CITs and then the following year they're going to be counsellors. Like how they are then going to be what I was my first summer. Like that is beyond mental to me. And I'm just so excited to have this last summer with them, and that they are so excited already, like planning outfits and planning activities and different things. Like I'm actually so excited to go into next summer knowing what maybe didn't work last year and what did work last year, and just creating something really special for them and next year's teen girls as well. And to really hopefully just have had such an impact on these kids' summers. Like this is why I do what I do. Like I go back to camp for the kids and for the experience that they get to have. And yeah, prepare to see me bawling my eyes out every single day next year, because there's no way I'm going to be able to cope with the fact that it's their last year as campers. Actually, I could cry already thinking about it. But yeah, that is essentially my experience at camp from start to finish. There's obviously so much more involved in like little things that happened in all the summers, like the amazing trips that I've been on, the big activity days that we've had, the like learning curves that I've had alongside my girls as well. That's kind of it summed up. And yeah, I'm so glad that I've been able to share this journey with you all, and to continue sharing it with you all, and to hopefully see all of your journeys as well at camp, whether it's your first time going or your fifth time going, whatever job roles you're going to be doing, whatever camps you're going to be going to. I love just hearing all about it and seeing the amazing impact that the summer camp experience can have on every single person if you let it, like if you really throw yourself into it head first. So yeah, I feel like this was actually such a fun video to film. I love just kind of reminiscing and looking back and seeing that this was all of my summers at camp. I feel so grateful, and it's just been the most special experience ever, and we're not stopping anytime soon. I feel like this makes me feel like I'm gonna say next year is my last year. It's definitely not. I'm gonna be going to camp for as long as humanly possible. I see myself taking my kids to camp like in years to come. That's where I see myself going with the whole camp world. So that's super exciting. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Please leave any video ideas down below that you want to see, whether it's camp related, travel related, just life in general. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.